What is good, everybody, and welcome to FPL Today live just straight after the Man United Spurs game. So apologies to all you Man United fans. I'm sure you're not feeling very good right now, but until about Thursday, Friday, this is the only time I could stream, other than the fact we did an FPL Wildcard stream earlier today. So thought I'd jump on, talk to you guys about what's happening in Game Week 3 and what we can look forward to in Game Week 4. And if we just talk about the Spurs and Man United game while we're here, I'll try and get it out of the way for the Man United fans. But we'll quickly go over who's in the chat first, and we'll admit that I don't have a drink. I literally, unless I went and got a glass of water, I don't have a drink. Apologies. But in the chat, we've got 73 people currently watching. We've got Shaban, Seb Hodson, Dylan, Anne O'Brien, Kieran Patrick, Todd Sheesby, Immortal Rapids, Steph Christou, Shashank Bandari, Team Babaralukusto. Hopefully I've got somewhere close to saying that right. We've got Callum, we've got Daraj. Oh, we got lots of people. We got Blessing. Good to see you, Blessing Rolo, in the chat. And anyway, yeah, we'll talk about the Spurs game first. I've literally just watched it, and Harry Kane can score in August. He's done it twice now. Lucas Moura also getting into the swing of things as well, which is good for anyone that's stuck with him and kept the faith. I think a lot of people transferred him out, which is unfortunate for anyone with Moura. I would say right now, until Son comes back, Moura is probably the shout for me. I just saw in the chat over Walcott. I've already made the move to Walcott, unfortunately. So I think if I'd waited, I would have gone with Moura right now. They do have Liverpool after a game against Watford, which should be an interesting game because Watford are in form at the moment. But Lucas Moura looked good. Kane got a goal and assist. I still think he should have scored another goal. He had a header at the back post. So for me, Kane should have returned more. Trippier looked good. Got substitute off. Kind of limped off. Little worry there. Ben Davies didn't start, which is unfortunate. But while I would say, and I would definitely say Bryce Laurie, that Richarlison tomorrow is a good option, I am worried about anything to do with that Man United defence right now. De Gea, Lindelof, Smalling, Jones don't look good. Enner Valencia, Luke Shaw looked all right to me, to be fair. But if their goalkeeper and centre-backs are going to be as leaky as that, because to be fair, I think a lot of Spurs goals came from stuff that the Man United defence did wrong. I mean, Lindelof almost gifted Dele Alli a goal as well. So that Man United side looks like a team to avoid right now, no matter who they're playing, which is unfortunate for the Man United fans, but I thought I'd just get that out of the way. They don't have a good centre-back. That's why they're in the market for Alderweireld. It's why they're in the market for Maguire. It's why they're in the market for so many Godin different options. They really needed to pick someone up. So for me, Man United's defence used to be the place to go for your clean sheets. It no longer is that place to go, which is really unfortunate because I've got Luke Shaw and he has returned. So Luke Shaw isn't the one I need to get out of my team right now. I think there's probably other areas I need to fix. Of course, I could wildcard. I'm tempted to try not to. I believe my rank, if we quickly go to my team, and you know what, I'll go to the actual live screen as well. I tend to do that. I forget to go to the live stream. But my team at the moment, 53 points from this game week. Shaw isn't going to get any bonus points. I imagine my overall rank's probably going to go to around the 250, 275,000 mark. It's going to be a significant drop because I believe Trippier is highly owned. Kane could be highly owned. Lucas Moura could be highly owned. I still imagine I'm going to be above 301k though. So I think it will be a green arrow for this game week, which will be ideal, of course. I'm happy with how Fabianski did, even though he conceded. Robertson getting the clean sheet and bonus points. Mendy still looking very advanced for a left back. Captain the right choice between Aguero and Salah, as Salah scored. Mane brought in, didn't do anything. Bernardo Silva is a little bit of a worry. I'm just not sure if he'll be getting those points, and I could cover another team with Bernardo Silva. For instance, that could have been Lucas Moura today. And Spurs look good. It almost looks like not having made any changes has helped them. Toussaint's still coming in with an assist, but it's not brilliant. Aguero is okay. He's got home fixtures coming up soon. And King, trolling a lot of people by returning points. I didn't transfer him out because I didn't want to take a hit. So keeping King actually worked out quite well for me. So yeah, any of you with Man United players right now, I think it may be time to think about moving them on. I did bring him in because of the fixtures. I thought Man United should do rather well, but there seems to be something really not working there in that Man United side, and I will stop beating up Man United now. Okay, so let's get to some questions in the chat. Let's have a look-see. By the way, make sure to look at the poll questions. They're new, so make sure to answer those. Anne O'Brien, the problem with Richarlison is when you bought him. If you bought him at 6.5 million, basically she asks, should I play Wan-Bissaka and hold Richarlison for the 2 game weeks that he'll be out because of the suspension? I believe that he won't drop below 6.5. So if you got him in at 6.5, it's not affecting your team value. I would potentially keep him in if you can cover him for 2 game weeks. Wan-Bissaka isn't a bad option. The games Crystal Palace have, Southampton and Huddersfield, to me, they're not games where necessarily you have to make that transfer, and you've already got in a player that could score you big points in Alonso. So I say you could probably manage to carry Richarlison for 2 weeks on your bench and then have him when he comes back. If you were to make a transfer, there was a poll, I believe, in the Wildcard stream. Not sure if I've done it for this one. I've done Richarlison replace or bench, so have a look at that poll question. For me, Lucas Moura has really stood out now as the person to bring in for Richarlison. Probably not a differential. I think there's going to be a big Richarlison to Moura bandwagon. So if you're looking for a differential, then maybe you want to look elsewhere. I mean, Everton and Walcott do have Huddersfield and West Ham both at home, so there's potential there for Walcott. Again, I think that's probably going to be a popular move though. But I think if you can carry Richarlison and still field a decent 11, then there's nothing wrong with doing that. Kai says it's the worst time to stream. I'm assuming he's a Man United fan. Milos getting 175 points. Well done, mate. Daraj Panday asked potential goalkeeper replacement for De Gea, and it can't be Eriksen. I mean, for me, you can't look at Man City and Liverpool anyway, because I think there's 2 good defensive options in there that could get you attacking returns and the clean sheet than Alisson or Ederson, although Ederson did get an assist. For me, I would probably not even go Spurs, because again, unless, you know, probably not, if you're not having a Spurs defender, then you could bring in Lloris. I mean, who has kept the most clean sheets? Which defence is actually looking decent right now? Clean sheets right now, Liverpool have the most. Cardiff have 2. They may be having just... Their tactic may be defence. And of course, their goalkeeper, I believe, has had 2 penalty saves. Every other team has only had 1 clean sheet if they've got one. Shots conceded. Least amount of shots conceded, Man United, Liverpool, Watford. So Foster might be an option. Although I think the fixtures get a bit difficult for Watford now. Wolves have only conceded 30, as have Leicester. As far as big chances conceded, Bournemouth have only conceded 2 big chances, so you could look at Begovic. 3 big chances for Watford, so again, you could look at Foster. Wolves only conceded 3 big chances with Rui Patricio, and Leicester with Kasper Schmeichel. So that might be where I'd look if I was looking for a replacement for De Gea. I see Mark back saying now you need wildcard to bring Kane in. To be honest, I'm happy with Aguero right now. I get that Kane's on form, or he's started to score FPL points. I get that. But right now, for me, Aguero's fixtures are too difficult to ignore, so I'm going to stick with Aguero. I can completely understand why people would want to bring Kane in right now. Potentially having Lucas Moura play near him could be a good partnership there because of Lucas Moura's speed. But for right now, if Moura's going to keep playing like he is, do you need to bring Kane in? Because you could bring in Moura. Apologies, Vessel De Vries, no drink. No drink today. I literally am jumping on after the game. Can't be on too long because, of course, the kid, you can see the cot just behind me. The kid's not in bed right now. I'm just doing this before we put her to bed. So quickly getting on now, but Dazus Inc. is in the chat. Good to see you. What spices of frog are you? Daniel Bedborough, panic, wildcard time. Eriksen finally did something, still not convincing. Mohamed Gassim, I completely agree. I think Moura, Trippier, Kane all looked like better options than Eriksen in the game just gone. Eriksen he wasn't really involved as much as I'd have liked him to have been. I don't know if this is on purpose, a deliberate tactic by Pochettino. I personally think it's a bit of a waste because I think Eriksen is a really class player. But if there's better options, and especially Moura for cheaper, then I think Eriksen can't really be an option for your sides. I'm going to try and find some questions that don't relate to Spurs and Man United. And by the way, those that are saying Lucas Moura one game, he did score against Fulham as well. Gunjan Fappa says I only got 53 and you're barking like as if you scored a century. It's a low scoring game week. What I'd like to explain there is, and to be honest, I'm not sure I was barking like I scored a high score. 53 points when the majority of players are scoring, especially the ones around me, are scoring less than that, is a good game week. My goal is to score more than the people above me and stay above the people below me. So there could be someone at around 5 million who's just scored 100 points and has just moved up to the 1 million rank. I'm still beating them at the moment. So if I see green arrows, I'm happy. Triple captain is being mentioned a lot for game week 4. A lot of people thinking of Aguero. Oh, Gunjan, you really don't like me, do you? But you're still part of the stream, so thank you for joining. For me, it just still feels early. I'm a player that likes to play the triple captain in a double game week. I just really do. Sometimes it doesn't always work, but sometimes it can work very, very well. I mean, Man City versus Newcastle at home is a good fixture for Aguero. So could you triple captain him there? Yes. Could it work? Definitely. You've also got... I think, to be honest, that's probably the only one I would look at as a triple captain for this game week. There is no other option I'd triple captain. Aguero against Newcastle at home. All the other home fixtures, Palace, there's no one I'd triple captain there. Everton, no one I'd triple captain. Chelsea, no one there I'd triple captain. I suppose some people might say Alonso, but I wouldn't go on a defender myself. West Ham have Wolves at home. Brighton have Fulham at home. There just isn't a fixture there apart from Aguero where I'd consider triple captaining. As for who I'm captaining, it will be Aguero this game week. I'm pretty confident that Aguero at home against Newcastle is a better option than Salah. We'll see if I'm right about that. It's not necessarily going to come out the way I hope, but that is the move I'll be making. We've got Robert Hanson. More is too inconsistent. Thank you first of all for the super chat. I believe it was a super chat. And second of all, Mora hasn't looked that inconsistent. I mean, I should really get away from talking about that game. And I don't think I'm going to get Mora's stats just yet for the Spurs game. We'll see if it's updated. If I could find him first of all. Mora, I've still got Mora on 1. But for 2 game weeks, we can look at his stats for the last 2 game weeks. So he's started twice, 158 minutes in total. Penalty area touches 6, that's pretty low for 2 game weeks. 3 goal attempts, 2 from inside the box, 1 shot on target. So to be fair, I remember him getting some chances, but I need to see the underlying stats from the game week or the game just gone. His underlying stats aren't great. They definitely aren't great. So if the stats are really good for this game, where I believe he definitely played as advanced as he has done previously, if the underlying stats are really good for this game, I may actually go and say Mora at least is a decent punt until Son's back. I personally think Son is probably still a better player and probably comes back into that side and kicks Mora out. Mora's more of a rotation player, I see, compared to the likes of Son, Eriksen and Dele Alli. So we'll see what happens with Mora. But sometimes an inconsistent player can have 3 or 4 really good game weeks. And if you get those points, then there's nothing to complain about. Gunjan, I'm going to captain Aguero. That's who I think should be the captain choice. If Aguero wasn't an option, I'd probably stick with Salah. But I'm looking for those players that are explosive. Daniel Fisher, though, does ask Salah or Kane for captain. If I was a betting man, that's a difficult one because Liverpool have Leicester and it's away. Spurs have Watford and it's away. For me, Watford have looked good so far this season. Are they going to keep out Spurs? For me, I'd go with Leicester over Spurs. I mean Liverpool over Spurs, of course. I wouldn't go with Leicester over Spurs. So I would go Salah over Kane myself. I'm just looking for a question that's different from there's a lot of Richarlison questions which I've answered. I personally think right now, off of what has just happened, you're looking at Mora. If you want the Chelsea coverage for a similar-ish price, Pedro. You've got, if you're looking for cheaper options, Schürrle, potentially at Fulham, but the fixtures aren't good there. You've got Walcott, a straight swap for Richarlison. You've got Fraser, of course, with Bournemouth. Decent option to swap him for, and then you've got money to spend elsewhere. Could go Mkhitaryan. I kind of want to see another good performance from Mkhitaryan before I go with him, but he did have a good game week too. But those are kind of the players you could look at. For me, Spurs seem in form. They played very well. I would go with Mora. Okay, so a lot of questions about wildcarding. So, and then a lot of questions about me keeping triple on Liverpool. I will probably potentially transfer out Mane for when Liverpool have a tougher run of fixtures. But first of all, Liverpool do well against big sides. They score a lot of goals anyway. Defensively, last year they weren't great against big sides, but offensively they did very well against big sides. So I wouldn't necessarily think about transferring a Liverpool player out just because they've got tough fixtures. And I think when you're getting players from big sides, you don't want to be transferring them out because of big fixtures. Now, if you've tripled up, then potentially you do want to change your game plan. For me, Man City and Liverpool looked the most reliable players to bring in, because I didn't know how Chelsea, Arsenal would do with new managers. Spurs, I wasn't sure about players coming back, how fit they'd be. Man United, there was a bit of uncertainty, which proves that we should have all listened to that. Now that we're into the season, for me, it's becoming a bit clearer. You've got Chelsea, Hazard and Alonso. Those are the two players you want to be bringing into your side from Chelsea. You've got Liverpool. Robertson looks the best defender. Trent Alexander-Arnold is an option. Salah, Mane look like they could exchange points. Salah's ownership's still high, so I'm probably leaning towards Salah. Salah's still having plenty of attempts on goal, and one explosive game week and the whole question might go out the window of Salah or Mane. Man City, Aguero on the form he's currently in without the Champions League starting yet. Probably looking at Aguero, Mendy and Ederson, the ways into that Man City side. Arsenal, there's nothing there that makes me want to go with an Arsenal player. Spurs, I think you're looking at Trippier, you're looking at, although there's rotation risk there. Surprised Davies got dropped for Rose, so there's rotation risk on the other side as well. Kane is always going to lead the line. And then Lucas Moura, if he continues to play, is a good option. Very advanced for a cheap price. Need to remember Mora's price is cheap. So I will be making moves to cover other teams now. I feel like I had a good start to this game week because my players played on Saturday, and then I had to watch Spurs play and I had to watch Chelsea play and hope that their players didn't get points, because then my ranking would have been higher. Because they did get points, because Kane scored, because Alonso scored, because Hazard scored, my rank has just dropped since Saturday evening. So wildcarding, if you feel like you need to wildcard, if your team is in that bad a shape, then go ahead and wildcard. For me right now, I'm still sticking around the top 300k mark, which is acceptable, so I won't be wildcarding, most likely. If something happens during this game week that needs attention, then it's possible. But I like the idea of having the wildcard in case something big happens during the international break. Say 3 of my players get injured, then I won't have to take a hit to sort that out. So I'll probably keep my wildcard for an in case over the international breaks. And then I also want as much data as possible to be making my decisions off of my wildcard team, and then really kind of attack the points with more knowledge. Use the wild card, get as many points as possible when I've got more knowledge of every single team, and it's a lot clearer who the nailed on players are. Also saw a question about Alonso. Wasn't sure if it was asking about captaining him. I know a lot of people are liking the look of the Chelsea fixture against Bournemouth at home. Hazard definitely is a very, very important player for Chelsea, as is Alonso. I think Hazard runs the show there when he's on form. He will be a good option this season. It would have been nice if he was starting, because if he was starting from the beginning of the season, I think he would have been in my side over Sanchez. And then even if I'd done that anyway, I'd probably been happier than having Sanchez, who I've now transferred out. I think Hazard is a good option, very, very good option. Would I triple captain Hazard against Bournemouth at home? It's possible he gets a very big return. Would I triple captain him though? Probably not for one game against Bournemouth. For me, the explosive players are Kane, Aguero, Salah. Those are the ones that more likely to get hat-tricks. And I want to try and use, not that I will, but try and use my wild card on a game week where I can get a player that scores 3 goals. And of course, double game weeks give you more of a chance of that happening. Would I have liked to have played it in game week 2 on Aguero? Yeah, of course I would. But that chance has gone. So yes, I will still be looking at triple captaining when a fixture is there that it's just a solo fixture, but I don't think Hazard versus Bournemouth is the one for me. But Hazard is definitely a great player to bring into your sides right now that he's played 90 minutes. As far as Alonso, I think Alonso is, of course, a great defender. There was all sorts of worry about him being more defensive under Sarri. I did say Alonso seems like the type of player that loves to get forward. Can you really stop him getting forward? And it would have been nice if I'd taken the risk on Alonso, but again, with a new manager, I didn't want to take that risk. I went with Robertson and Mendy, and it's done okay for me, to be fair. I think potentially Alonso and Mendy are the 2 that we should really be looking at. The Spurs ones have the risk of rotation. Robertson, for me, is more likely to get assists and goals, and of course there's more points in goals. I think Mendy is just so advanced that he could get goals as well as those assists, and Alonso is, of course, Alonso. Great free kick, loves to get forward. But if we actually look at the underlying stats for defenders, as far as goal threat goes, Alonso has had the most attempts out of any defender. He's had 7, but Mendy's had 6. Alexander-Arnold has actually had 4. The reason I'm thinking that Robertson may not be as important for us is because Robertson's only had 1 shot on goal. Where Robertson kind of stands out is chances created. As far as attempts inside the box, Alonso's had 4. That's 2 less than Michael Keane. Mendy's shots have come from distance. He's only had 2 inside the box. Big chances, Alonso's had 1. He's lower than Ake, Morrison, Laporte, Tarkowski. But of course, Alonso's class of finishing is above those defenders above him. Shots on target as well. Again, even Laporte has had more shots on target than Marcus Alonso. Mendy has had more shots on target than Marcus Alonso. And then if we go over to distribution, the reason I think Mendy is so important this season is because Mendy outshines Alonso as far as chance creation. Now, Robertson is the player or defender that's created the most chances this season so far. He's created 8 chances for his teammates. Mendy has created 6. Holebas has created 7. Ben Davies has created 5. Alonso has created 3, and that's below Chilwell, Bryan from Fulham, and Bertrand from Southampton. Now, 2 of his assists have come from penalties, winning penalties. Do I think he's going to continue to win penalties? That's debatable. He is going to continue to get into the box, so it's possible. But big chances as well. Robertson has actually created more big chances, and Mendy has created more big chances than Alonso. In fact, has Alonso created any big chances? He has created 1 big chance. So, for me, Alonso is still a great option. Still a fantastic defensive player who is going to get points. However, I think Mendy could be just as good. As for TJ Phillips, as it's kind of an extension of what I'm talking about, I'd go Trent Alexander-Arnold and Alonso over Robertson and Luiz. That's how I'd go right now. You could, of course, change that up depending on fixtures. As far as why not get Mendy, Alonso and Robertson, that's a lot of money in defence. All of them are higher than their original price now. And if you got them at their original price, that was 18.5 million. Took me way too long to do that maths. 18.5 million on 3 defenders is a lot of money. For me, Mendy is the one that I watch the games, I watch how they're playing. I think Mendy is the one that will be the best one to own this season. Okay, hopefully we can find something that is different question, because we've spoken about Spurs and Man United. Yes, Gunjan, you really don't like me, do you? Let's talk about Fulham, because Tim J says, should I keep Salah and Mane, or should I ship out Mane and bring in Mitrovic for Ings and Alonso for Pereira? We've already spoken about Alonso. You know my feelings on him. Mitrovic has got great underlying stats and made them count in the game against Burnley. Mitrovic looking very, very good. His stats are almost on par with Aguero right now. Total attempts, he's had 15 total attempts. Callum Wilson, Mitrovic and Aguero are the leaders of the pack as far as attempts on goal. Arnautovic and Ings both over double figures for attempts as well. As far as shots from inside the box, Mitrovic is only on 9. That's lower than Ings, Aguero and Wilson. Wilson is on 13. All of Wilson's shots have come from inside the box. Big chances, Mitrovic is on 4 with Jesus, beaten by Callum Wilson. On target, Mitrovic has 7 shots on target, beating out Callum Wilson, Jesus and Aguero with 6 each. So for me, Mitrovic right now, as far as attacking goes, is doing very, very well underlying stats wise, and of course now has the goals after that game against Burnley. Also, Schürrle and Vieto have both looked very, very good as well in that last game. So I'm excited to see if that partnership of 3 up front can continue in that kind of form against opposition like Burnley. Now, do I think they'll do that against the likes of Man United, or maybe Man United to be fair, but Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Tottenham? I don't think they'll be doing that against those opponents. So right now, Fulham have Brighton next, but then it's Man City. Then do have Watford, who have looked good. Everton, who have looked good, but not defensively, to be fair. They then have Arsenal. If Arsenal's defence still doesn't look good by that point, if the fixtures after Arsenal aren't too bad, then you could start thinking of bringing in Fulham players for that. They do have Cardiff, Bournemouth and Huddersfield after that Arsenal game. Then it is Liverpool, so you've got to take the good with the bad, and then Southampton. So I really do like the look of Mitrovic. I think, for me right now, Mitrovic and Wilson are the strikers to own that are value for money. Potentially Ings as well, but I just think Wilson and Mitrovic look like the ones that will continue to score goals. A lot of people asking about Mooney. Has Mooney done something that I'm not aware of that should make me be considering him? Because if we're talking about the Huddersfield Mooney, 6 attempts on goal, 5 from inside the box, no goals. Not sure why we're talking about him. Anthony Lee, everyone who still has Rich, just put in Walcott. It will help my team value. Hi mate, would you keep Pedro or go for Walcott, who's got 3 up-and-coming home games? Away, that's hard because I don't know what the rest of your team looks like. If the rest of your team looks like it needs work, I would leave Pedro in because he looks like he's starting. Although I still worry slightly. I don't know if it's going to be Willian or Pedro. Does Wilson have hard fixtures? Again, I don't know if you're looking a bit more short-term than me. Wilson has a hard fixture for game week 4. But then he has Leicester, Burnley, Crystal Palace, Watford, Southampton, Fulham until game week 11 comes Man United. So for me, yeah, Wilson's probably not one to bring in this game week. But then he's got 6 decent fixtures where he could get goals. As far as Mitrovic and Fulham, I did talk about Fulham's run of games. Again, I said, you know what? They have some tough fixtures in there, but they've got a run of 3. Cardiff, Bournemouth, Huddersfield. After the Arsenal game, and Arsenal's defence hasn't looked good anyway, where he could be an option as well. So it all depends how far forward, I suppose, you're looking. How long are you thinking of keeping Toussaint for by Drabby? Again, that all depends on what other areas of my team need work. Okay, let's goalkeeping rotation. I get asked about that a lot. To be fair, right now for me, I think we did have a quick look at goalkeepers just to help those that had De Gea, and we pretty much were looking at Begovic, Foster, and Patricio. Now for me, I kind of wish I'd stuck with Foster. I didn't. I went and changed to Patricio. But if we see who rotates with Watford, okay, so we have Everton that rotate with them rather well. We've got Palace, who have 5 good fixtures anyway. We have Southampton that look like they rotate well as well, but I'm not sure I want to go for a Southampton goalkeeper. And also, Wolves actually do rotate with them quite well. So I'd probably go Foster and Patricio as my rotation pair. I know I've got Patricio and Fabianski, and they don't actually rotate that well at all, which is a bit annoying, but I thought those two would be good goalkeepers to have. So I made a mistake there, I admit that. But I think definitely you could be looking at Wolves and Watford. Yeah. Okay, just checking that is correct. At least for the next couple of game weeks. About 5-6 game weeks, that is a good run. Jimmy Haig, who's a good replacement for Stones. So I'm presuming you want someone in the same price bracket. So we are looking at Stones is 5.5 million. So we're looking for any defender that's 5.5. So it depends if you want to save money to use elsewhere. There's plenty of options right now. Holebas looks like he could continue to get assists. He did it last season. He could get some more this season. Pereira is very advanced for Leicester. You've got Maguire, who scored a goal recently, but I probably wouldn't. I'd probably still stick with Pereira for like a season-long pick. I think he could get a lot of assists when he does play further forward. Wouldn't go for Luke Shaw. I kind of wish Luke Shaw would just rise one more so I could transfer him out. You've then got Alexander-Arnold. Nice way into that Liverpool defence if you don't have a Liverpool defender. To be honest, that would probably be it. Those are the players I'd look at unless you were looking to save money and go for someone cheaper. Yeah, there's no one else I'd really go for in that kind of price bracket. I mean, Laporte looks like he is quite favoured by Pep Guardiola, was brought in by him recently, so Laporte could be a shout as a like-for-like replacement as well. Talking about Palace, Michael Kricilic. For me, I think Palace, the whole reason I had Palace initially, and I brought in Townsend instead of Zaha, which I'm still regretting, even though Zaha hasn't exactly had the greatest of starts, but he has scored goals. It's because Crystal Palace do have good fixtures, like you said. Southampton, Huddersfield, Newcastle, Bournemouth, Wolves, Everton. That's up until game week 9. For me, Hennessy could potentially still get some clean sheets there, but I mean, I'm worried about how they looked against Watford. They did decent against Liverpool, though, even though they did concede 2. I mean, Hennessy can't come into my side because I've got Wan-Bissaka, and I think he looks like a starter at Palace. And then if you're picking anyone else, I think Zaha is the best player to own in that side. So I like Zaha. Hennessy, for me, I've got Wan-Bissaka, so I don't want double coverage on Crystal Palace. So carrying on from that, Daraj, Zaha and Wan-Bissaka, I think, are very good options for Game Week 4. Gase, downgrade Stone to Pereira and upgrade Ali to Hazard. I think that is a good move, yep. And Robert Brasavanu, Ings and Mora, or Arnautovic and Milner. I'd go Ings and Mora at the moment. See you later, Gunjan. Hope you have a good night. And to be honest, guys, I know it's short. It's only 43 minutes in. We'll answer Rob Crouch because I've seen your question a few times. Most of my team have a top 6 side next week. Should I use free hit? I personally have always said free hit is best used on a blank game week. And that's a game week where certain sides don't play in the league because they have FA Cup fixtures. That way you don't have to plan for a double game week in advance and kind of make your side weaker going into that blank game week. So I'm a proponent of free hit being used when there's a blank game week. If I wasn't using it in a blank game week, it would be used on a double game week because I think that's when you can maximize your points. If your team is that bad, I'd say wildcard. If you think it's not that bad, then and it just needs a few transfers, you could maybe take a -4. I wouldn't take too many minuses unless your team is really doing that badly and needs that much surgery. But of course you have the wild card there and you can take the hits and then use the wild card to cancel those hits out, but I wouldn't use a free hit until the blank game weeks myself. And yeah, guys, we're gonna call it there, but just quickly, Mitrovic over Ings. You don't have to keep Mane. I think I'm keeping Mane because of the next fixture, but then I could be moving Mane to someone else. And my thoughts on Monreal, I think he could be getting attacking returns, but that defence, Arsenal defence, does not look good at all. So I wouldn't be going towards them as an option, for at least for clean sheets. And that's where your bread and butter is with defenders. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning into this episode, as always. Hope you enjoyed it, even though it was short. But, of course, I did wait until the Man United Spurs game was over. So we had a bit of an idea off of players from that. Other than that, hopefully I should be going live Thursday night. So I can maybe focus on my own team on Friday, which would be different. Because I don't usually have that much time to focus on my own team. So we'll see what happens, but either Thursday night, might do Friday during the day, either as well or instead of, because I do stream during the day and there are different people from different time zones that can tune in at different times. So we'll see what happens. I'll let you guys know on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter at JNO United if you want to keep up to date with what I'm doing with my live streams. And also if you want to get involved with the poll questions and questions for the stream, Twitter is the way to do it as well. All of that being said, various links in the description down below if you want to support the channel, like a lot of you guys already do in the chat, so thank you guys so much for that. I've been JNO, this has been FPL Today, and remember, it's all about the game.